And I'm John Newman.
Welcome to Card Mensches.
Episode 4 of said show. My name is John Newman. I'm joined, as always, by my partner in crime, Mr. Danny Black. We got a fun show for you today. As most know, the NFL playoffs are in full swing and getting down to the nitty-gritty. And we're going to go over all those games and make our picks and see where we agree and disagree. And we also have a pretty fun hobby topic that I think every collector or hobbyist has thought about. I'll just say that and then kick it over to Danny to take it away.
Well, the last week the Powerball hit, I think it was $1.5 billion. And so I was driving with my kids, and inevitably they said, "You would buy cards." And I said, yeah, I would. So I was talking to John. I said, you know what? Everybody would say they would buy a Mickey Mantle. Everybody would say they'd buy a Honus Wag. But if we really had lottery money, and I'm saying, like, hypothetically, if we, had how much money?
If I had $1 million. If I had $1 million.
Except it was $1 billion. And so we decided to make a list of some sneaky great dream cards, I call them. And I know that sounds like My Little Pony, but I think it's funny. So we made a list, and we made them separate, of a couple cards that, you know what, we really can't afford. But they're not the Mantle, they're not the Wagner, and which are kind of the icons of the hobby. So we thought we'd put together kind of a couple cards for each of us. This is nothing formal, nothing official. If you have your own opinions or your own cards, leave them in the comments. But John and I thought we'd have a little bit of fun with this.
Yeah, and listen, it's like I said in the open, Danny, right? We've all done that, right? When those million, the Mega Millions or the Powerball get up there. And full confession, I'm not an every week lottery player. I just wait till it gets one of those crazy figures, and I have an app on my phone that I can buy lottery tickets right from my phone.
In other words, at $100 million, it's not enough for you.
No, I'm
okay. So it's got to be $1 billion to get the.
I'm a lottery.
Okay, I just want to know.
I'm a lottery snob. Okay, it's got to be like 350 million or higher. And then, as you just mentioned, the Powerball. What was it? $1.5 billion? $1.5 billion, right? Yeah. So, listen, everyone listening to this that's in the hobby has thought, man, especially if you've obviously got to be in it to win it. But if you've ever bought a lottery ticket, you do that, right? You said, man, if I won, what would I buy? And sure, there's, a car you like, or you maybe upgrade your house, right? But if you're in the hobby, you better darn well believe you've got a list, whether you wrote it down or it's in your head, you got a list of cards that you are going to get on the horn, go on an auction site, wherever, a marketplace, a vault, eBay, what have you, and you're going to go start picking those up. We're going to approach this, though, a little disclaimer, we're going to approach this as if you won, in that $300 million, like not the Powerball at $1.5 billion, because you win that.
Who are we kidding? We picked expensive cards that we like a lot. Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know how much money we won to buy these, but these are great cards that you might not think of that we love.
Yeah, but I wanted to, keep it where, like, you win that $1.5 billion. You can buy anything and all you wanted. You could buy the top 250 PSA cards and high grades and still have money left over to spare. So that's too easy. So we want to make it where, you won a good sum of money, but you didn't win $1.5 billion type of sum of money. So, well, we each, I think, what do we pick? About 4 or 5 cards, that we would, probably buy. Obviously, when you win that kind of money, we're going to buy them in those higher grades and as many tens of these as we can.
And I don't know about you. Some of the ones I picked are ones that are kind of personal favorites of mine. Maybe not classic great ones for the hobby. So I'm curious about which ones you picked.
One for those that know me, one is going to be easy. It's actually a card I do own now. thankfully, but I'm going to obviously go for a higher grade. You win the lottery, right?
Well, I'm going to tell you what. I'm going to flash the first one on the screen. Let's unveil the first one.
Yeah,
I think you've already given it away here. So
it's the chalk pick, right? I have a 1.5 of the 48 leaf Jackie, and I love it. And if I never win the lottery, I'm ecstatic that I own it, and on cloud nine that I own it. But you win that kind of money, right? You better darn well believe I'm going to see what kind of grade, the highest grade I can get, and love it even more, right? If that's even possible. So the Jackie was like instant, right? You have that kind of carte blanche. You're gonna try to get an 8, a 9, a 10. I don't know. I think there might be 1 or 2 10s. Like I'd have to check. I don't even look at that because one.
Well, because you only won 300. I won $1.5 billion for my lottery, so I'm gonna get the 10. You can stick with the 8.
Yeah, I'm okay with that.
And for the record, I would take every one of your cards. I'm sure. So this is not who's right or who's wrong. I'm sure I'd be thrilled with all your. Well, I listen. I this is low hanging for me. Being from Baltimore, the Babe Ruth Baltimore News American, which coincidentally was actually bought out of the fractional ownership recently. But this is Babe Ruth's only card as a Baltimore Oriole. Some call it an XRC or minor league rookie card or whatever you want to call it. But I call it I think the number one card in baseball card history. It is less popular in population than the Wagner. It's a better player than Mantle, and I just think to me that card, the 1914 Baltimore News American Babe Ruth, is absolutely on my list, and I would have that in a second.
You know what I call it?
What?
The $8 million card.
That's what it is right now. Yep.
Yeah. Well, let me ask you this. Now, obviously, there are not a lot of these, so your selection will be very limited. The one that's in your backyard in the Babe Ruth Birthplace and Museum under very tight security, which is the $8 million one, and the one that's not on the fractional site anymore. I mean, what do you think the owner of that? Obviously, he's going to want more than $8 million because that's basically what he paid for in a sense.
I don't think he wants. I don't think he would sell it. I don't think at that much money you ever.
Well, listen, money talks, right? There's the old saying, right? Money talks. It's been around a long time. How much money will talk for and obviously it's all speculation. I don't believe him personally, but what number do you think gets that gentleman to say, you know what? I now rather have that cash than this card.
I think double the money.
So
at least.
Which would make it obviously the highest paid for one baseball card. So you win the Mega Millions. You offer the gentleman $16 million. He takes it. You are now the owner of this Babe Ruth. Where is it? Are you leaving it in the museum? It's yours, just like it was his, but now you own it.
Why would I
stay in the same place, or do you yank it out of there? And if you yank it out of there, where does it go?
Well, first of all, I would never tell you, and I wouldn't say it in public. It will be in my sock drawer, right under the Argyle pair I wear only for bar mitzvahs. It's one of those cards I can't imagine having something of that value. There's a real practical problem of having something that expensive. The collector in me says it would be on my nightstand. I would wake up every morning, give it a kiss. I'd go to bed every night, give it a kiss. And I would want to have that with. But, I mean, even at the $8 million, I mean, what are these numbers we're talking about? I mean, that's real security. Even to get insurance on that, you have security requirements. So from a practical stance, I don't know what I would do. But for this hypothetical situation, it's going to be on my end table.
with like armed guys with Uzi 24/7.
It makes it a little uncomfortable to sleep with the Uzi in my back, but they're just happy to see me. So let's go to your next one. Well, you have two here. You combine.
Yeah, I asked you if I could cheat a little bit, a friendly cheat, and I initially picked one, and then I'm like, how do you win that kind of money? You're not going to just buy one of these from that set. So I picked both of them, right? I would buy high grade 51 Bowman Willie Mays and Mickey Mantle. By the way, for those out there that don't know, the 51 Bowman is the Mantle rookie. Okay, just a public service, just a PSA from your Uncle John there. And I know the 52 is a beautiful card, but I'm a rookie card guy, and I wouldn't kick either one of those Mantles out of bed, right? The 51 Bowman or the 52 Tops, but I would obviously you win that kind of money, you'd buy them both. But I would really want the 51 Bowman in a high grade first. As crazy as that sounds.
Well, for people that are watching on YouTube, I do have a PSA 10 on the screen for the Mantle. No, I can't.
Yeah, I mean, so I would buy the highest grade that I can get my hands on of both of these cards. Right, two iconic ball players, Hall of Famers, obviously, legends of the game. Willie Mays right now, and hopefully stays that way, is the greatest living ball player we have left, and just two cards I potentially could own in lower grades, but we're talking hypotheticals here, so I'm going for the 10s if I can, number one, find them, and number two, the owners are willing to part ways with them for that right number. Those will be on my list.
You know why I like that answer? Because we said we didn't want the 52 Mantle and we didn't want the Wagner. That was kind of our only real rule, and what you did is actually took what many people consider as the better Mantle. It doesn't have the same panache or history, but it is that true rookie, and that 51 Bowman set is beautiful. So I don't think you'll lose anything aesthetically. So I like those picks because that's a good response to not being able to do the 52. Because I know you, and I think you would take the 51 even if I didn't make that rule.
Yep, I would.
Yeah. So I'm going to.
What's your pick?
Well, you said greatest living ball player, so I'm going to jump ahead because there's a good argument to be made a couple different ways. So one of mine would be, and people don't realize this, high grade Sandy Koufax rookies are very hard to find. So on the screen right now is I have a PSA 10 55 Koufax rookie, and that would absolutely be on my list. Would be a high grade Koufax. The low grades you can find, but to find something or even afford something, much less the 10 I showed on the screen here, would definitely be on my sneaky great dream cards.
You ain't gonna get an argument from me as an owner of that card, not the 10, unfortunately, but a 4.5. There's a funny story. I don't know if we want to save that for.
You can tell everybody how you bought the card right from under me. Sure.
Apparently there's two versions of the story. So this was on my and listen, it's on a lot of people's target list when they go to a national or any card show, for that matter. So this was a card. When I go to the national, I've talked about this on my own shows and stuff. I go to the national trying to get 2 or 3 cards of a certain ilk, right? 4 figures that I want to add to my PC. And so last year,
by the way, a lot of people go to the national to buy baseball cards.
Yeah. This just did.
Right, I was about to say, this is not breaking news here. No.
This just came across the news desk. People go to card shows to buy cards. We'll have film at 11. All right. But so this was last year. This was one of those 2 target cards that I had on my list. I'll be honest with you. The other one I didn't get, which was a Tom Seaver rookie. So that still remains on the list. So I looked around, like you said, they're there, right? And a lot of lesser grades. Prices at that point, dealers were still trying to get sort of more than where comps were at. And I almost kind of gave up that I was going to get either one of these cards. And I'm like, it's the last day of the net. It's, the next to last day. It was my last day, which was Saturday.
It was definitely not the last day because I was waiting to the last to try to
It was my last day of Saturday. I left Sunday morning at like 10:30 and I tried to, we drove so we could leave almost anytime we want, but my wife wanted to get back. She missed everyone and the dog included. I tried to talk her into, hey, let me go to the show for a couple hours, then we can take off. You can go to the beach one last time, but no such luck. So I kind of knew
For the background, I'm also at the National looking for a Sandy Koufax rookie in a similar grade, and we did not talk in advance. We did not know that we were both looking for the same card, and we weren't shopping together. This was independently in the whole National, so there was easily dozens of Koufax rookies, okay, and there were hundreds of tables, and John, take it from there where you still.
So I kind of knew Saturday was my last chance to get any, and at this point, it was really, I think I had bought like, a bunch of $20 cards. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but obviously you go to a big show like that, you most likely want to get, more than, 4 or 5 $20 cards. So I'm like, I'm up against the clock, but I'm not just going to like pay way over comps just for the sake of not getting skunked. So I was looking at a 2 at another table of the Koufax rookie. His price was a little high. I went to another table, it was a 2.5. It was a little closer to realistic, but not enough to make me, purchase it. And I sort of had almost given up sort of hope on picking something like this up. And I said, I'm going to go into that last corner. I really haven't went there a ton. I haven't really looked over there. And I went, and this one gentleman, I wish I knew his name. I could have told you close to the show.
William.
So great vintage selection, right?
Not that this bothers me, guys. Not that this bothers me, but I remember it was William, and I know where the table was. But go ahead.
All right. So I hadn't really been in this area a lot. I said, well, listen, if I'm going to go out of here with nothing off my hit list, I'm at least try to go to an area I haven't went to yet. And I got to this, we had 4 or 5 tables put together and tons of vintage. I mean, he had some great cards. And he had this Koufax 4.5 SGC, which I'll hold up because, for the YouTube viewers covering the grade. But there you go. Presents really, really, really well. Talking about color, great color, really sharp corners. Frankly,
I gotta tell you, everyone, for a good friend, you're an asshole.
Yeah.
this card is gorgeous. We get it.
So, and it's got, honestly, it's a candidate for like resubmittal if I did that, which I don't do.
It's underrated. Yeah.
So it's better than the 4.5. I asked the gentleman what he wanted. I'm not going to go into numbers. We were sort of close. He also had a Bowman Warren Spahn rookie, which wasn't really on my hit list for the show specifically, but it's a card I would love to add to the PC. So I added that to it and said, hey, if I buy both of these together, now what could you do? They had prices on them. He said, well, if you take them both, I can do this. I like that number. And, I bought them. And again, like you said, and I'll let you pick up the story here. I had no idea we were looking for Koufax as well. So at some point, I believe, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, we obviously met up and I showed you the card.
I think we either had a late lunch on Saturday or dinner on Saturday. I forget what it was. And you showed me the card and I look at it. And I looked right at you. I said, you got it from the guy at the table over there. You said, how'd you know that? I said, because I was about to buy it. I literally, the whole, this is the National. This is not a synagogue show. This is the
Sorry,
National.
Uncle Rich.
Well, we're card Mensches, so I had to, But I couldn't believe in an entire room full of cards of all the Koufax rookies. And I really did look. I mean, there were dozens. This was just the most beautiful example at a fair price. And you and I, totally independent of each other, both landed on the same card. And you beat me to it. So well done. And I will regret not pulling that string a little bit sooner.
Well, listen, Chicago's coming up here in July. So, and I won't be in the market unless we win the Mega Millions or I win the Mega Millions. So you won't be competing against me this year, unknowing or knowing.
Well, we were as we do well. We went off the track. So I'm going to bring you back because you have a basketball card on your list.
Yeah, I'm not a huge basketball guy, and I know this is a cliche pick. I know it's sort of, and listen, I'm not even saying this is underproduced. To tell you the truth, it's really not a short. Speaking of said National, you can find a lot of these at the National. So I owned a Jordan one time during my store days, and I sold it.
We're talking about the 86 Fleer Jordan for those of you.
Yeah, 86, 87 Fleer Jordan rookie. I had one, but it never really was mine. I kind of got it in a deal, put it in the showcase in the store, and then it eventually sold. And this is back when it was a lot cheaper. And I believe, if my memory serves, it was an ungraded copy. It was a raw copy in the showcase. I wound up selling it at the store. And I never got one again, whether it was for the store or for me. And, I thought about it. For as long as I've been in the hobby and wearing different hats, I've never really owned this card, and it's not like hard to find. And so I thought, if I win this Mega Million, and I tried to get some different sports represented rather than just pick all baseball or what have you. I said, man, if I win that kind of money, I'm going to go out there and try to get a 9 or 10 of the MJ Fleer, especially at that point. So it normally, like going to the National this year, wouldn't necessarily be on my target list to get like a 4 or 5 or 6. But again, you win that lottery, I'm going for a 9 or 10 because I do want to own it someday. And if I'm going to own it and I can afford a 9 or 10, I'm gonna move it up the list.
I want to show you my next pick, but I think it's fair to say it's maybe the most famous basketball card of all time, hands down. So it's kind of on that Mount Rushmore of cards. Even if you're not a diehard fan of the card, you got to respect where it is in the hobby. So I think that's a solid pick, even if it wouldn't have been on my list maybe right away. But I cheated also because I give you 251 Bowmans. So my next picks, I took 233 Gaudis. I took a Mo Berg, and I took the Sport Kings Jim Thorpe. And for two different reasons, but basically the short of it is I love the 33 set. Where it fell in the history of cards makes it very unique. There's almost 10 or 15 years, on either side of it till you get to a more traditional set. But the idea that they in the Sport King set, they had non-traditional athletes. In fact, if in my personal podcast, I have the Babe Dietrichson in my opening from that set. So I love the Sport King set. I think Jim Thorpe is tremendously underrated in the history of athletes in this country. He was voted best athlete of the first half of the 20th century, and that includes against Babe Ruth or Jack Johnson or whoever else you could think of. So I to have the Thorpe and then Mo Berg, if you're not familiar with the story, The Catcher Was a Spy. It's a book. It's a movie. It's one of my favorite stories of all time. I've owned lower grades of this card many times. I one day want to commit to a higher grade if I can afford it. And if I won that Mega Millions, that lottery, you better believe I would have a high grade Mo Berg without a doubt. So I'll take the 33 Gowdy and double dip with the Mo Berg and the Jim Thorpe.
Yeah, both great cards, no doubt. Well, one of those will cost you significantly more than the other one.
You'd be surprised. The Mo Berg the high grades are because it had no value. It was a backup catcher. Nobody kept them. So
anyway. The high grade. Well, if they're both high grades, one is going to cost you more of your winnings than the other one.
Now, you've been beating me up all day, and your last card, I can't believe you're doing this, is an Indianapolis Colt. You picked Peyton Manning's rookie card. What'd you pick here?
The 98 SP Authentic. Just a cool card. It's not like insane amount of money. Like this again, this is kind of one of those cards like I could own it, in a 7 or 8, but you win the lottery, and now you can focus on just the 10 of the card. And I think I'm a Peyton Manning guy. Like I'm a Steeler fan, but I'm a Peyton Manning fan. He's just a legendary quarterback, 2 rings. He played in the shadow of Brady. People might cringe when I say this, as a pure quarterback, he's a better quarterback than Tom Brady. You can argue Tom Brady had more pieces around him, maybe better coaching. I'm not saying Tom Brady's not good. They're both first ballot Hall of Famers. They're both Super Bowl winners. They're both MVPs. But Peyton Manning, I don't think he can. I guess what I'm saying is, without besmirching Tom Brady, which you really shouldn't and can't do, Peyton Manning doesn't get enough credit for the quarterback he was. And now post-career, right? He's hilarious with commercials, doing the Monday Night Football with his brother Eli. He's made He's a Hall of Famer just based on that stuff. And so I'm a closet Peyton Manning guy. And so this is a card I don't own. But again, winning this sort of thing, I'm going out and getting a 10 of that card.
That hurts. Do you see what's right here next to me? For those of you watching on YouTube, I have a piece of artwork of Johnny Unitas sitting right next to me. Johnny Unitas is the greatest quarterback in Colts history. If you wanted to put a card on this list, I got a 57 Unitas rookie. That would be beautiful. But I guess Peyton was pretty good, so I'll respect that. And he did wear the high tops in his first game in Baltimore in tribute to Johnny Unitas when the Ravens came here. So I always respected that. But anyway, all right. So my last one here, I actually did probably a year ago a special on this card. This is the 1980 Charlotte Orioles police set. It's the orange border, and there was two sets, and they're both rare. There was a blue border and orange border. The blue border was sponsored by the local television station and sold. It's a Ripken, AA Charlotte minor league card, and the blue border was sold at the stadium and sponsored by the TV station. The orange border was sponsored by the local police and given out by the police themselves when they would go into schools and give the safety lesson to the kids. So there was never a retail distribution, and that's part of the reason that they're so rare, is there was never a formal retail distribution. So these cards are extremely rare, extremely expensive, very hard to find in good condition. And I happen to know somebody who has one, and if I won the lottery, Joe, if you're watching this, you'll be getting a call. Don't worry. So that was my last one.
And that's a good one, because I will tell you this. I did my first show at 15 years old in 1987. I've got a lot of shows under my belt as a dealer and as a consumer. I can honestly tell you, and we had this conversation, I've never seen one in person, and I'm a very honest and transparent guy. I thought the 81 TCMA was his first produced card. I didn't even know this card existed. Frankly, if someone would hand me this card, now I know, I would think it was like a Broder or just someone printed it in their basement. You just
it almost looks like an art card, like somebody wanted to make a minor league card of Cal.
I've never seen one in person. How many do you think still exist? I mean, what would you?
I should know this because I did an entire episode of it. I mean, we're talking handfuls. I mean, it's that small. To give you an idea, I know this card was running over $10,000, not in a 10. So I can't even imagine where the high grades would be, or what the highest grades even are.
Well, there's just not many of them. There's probably not, obviously, if there are not many to begin with left, there's probably not many even graded copies. You might even have this is one of those cards, quite frankly, Danny, you might, when you win your Mega Millions, you might, this card might give you grief obtaining it, not because you don't have the funds. You just got to try to find it.
I
know a guy, but
I know a guy who can get me a Cal. Yeah. I'm like the world's worst drug dealer. I can get you a Ripken behind a 7-Eleven. It's on my bucket list. If I were to win it, I'd find a way to do it. Like you said, everybody's got a price. It's not the only one in the world, and I'm sure somebody can leave me, in the comments where I can buy one. But definitely on my bucket list. So that was fun, just having a little bit of a look at some of the stuff that we would do with our lotto winnings. And I think you said it the best. I mean, the truth of it is we would probably buy 250 cards if we won, the $1 billion. Yeah, I mean, we wouldn't be limited to this at all.
And one thing in closing, I think every hobbyist or collector, like I said in the open, right? Pipe dreams, right? Man, if I win this lottery tonight, these cards are going to be mine, right? We've all done it. Nothing wrong with doing that's fun, right? So for those watching on YouTube, put in the chat, hey, what cards, what 1 or 2 or 3 cards are the first to go come off your list when the government or the lottery association sends you your lump sum after the government gets its clause on their taxes of it. So what are you buying? Put it in the comments. We like to see if anything similar, or maybe some cards we didn't even think about.
Yeah, no, I'd love to. If you've got something out there like that Ripken minor league card that's not known, we're here to learn from you as well. So please. And that being said, the things we've learned recently is one of our sponsors, Waxstat.com. They are the hobby's best wax pricing information. We've spent some time with Al, who's doing a great job over at WaxStat, and it actually will compare prices and give you current retail prices on sealed wax, hobby boxes, retail, even cases. I think he has almost everything from the last 3 or 4 years in his database. So almost anything that's available on the market is in there. You can track historical prices. You can compare in real time. So just a shout out to Al at waxstat.com. Also, my good friends at Center Stage, great app. It's available in the App Store, the iOS, the Apple Store, and it's the ability to price a card by just holding your phone over it and scanning. So it's a really fascinating technology. They've been a very loyal supporter, and so Center Stage, definitely download the app if you've never used it before. I know, John, you got introduced to it before we launched.
Yeah,
and
it's easy.
Used it.
I think they should make their tagline. I'm going to politic here to get on there. So easy, John can do it. I've never been said before. Like I maybe Geico did something with So Easy K-Man could do it, but they could use it for the Center Stage app. So Easy John can do it.
Well, yes, and a big thank you to them for their sponsorship and for all that they've done.
Experience, quality, consistency, and the quickest turnaround times in the grading industry? We are proud to partner with SGC Grading. Check them out at www.gosgc.com.
And the SGC commercial means that we're heading into...
Welcome to the failure segment, where John and Danny share their picks sure to go wrong.
Yes, this is where we embarrass ourselves by picking games of sport that have point spreads attached to them. And we are in NFL playoff season here, Mr. Newman. So I'm going to see if I can get these up on the screen here so people can see them with us. But we're going to air this... on YouTube before the playoff game. So if you're watching on YouTube, this will be before the games are played. And if you're listening on the podcast, you can turn it off now. We were right on all of our predictions. I'll just let you know how it ends. So why don't you go ahead and take the NFL from here for me?
Well, let me just, for our YouTube viewers, let me just add this disclaimer. There is no, we cannot guarantee any past or current performance. Gamble at your own risk. It's not our fault if you follow our advice. Let's start with the Jacksonville Kansas City game. Who would have thought, right? The Jacksonville Jaguars, right, would be at this point. Who would have thought it last week in the first half? Trevor Lawrence throws 4 picks and they're down 27-0. Jags fans turn their TVs off only to check their phones and say, "Hey, we better put the TV back on. This is a game." And then it's like Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde, tale of two halves.
My son Connor, 11 years old, diehard Jag fan, goes to bed hysterical crying at like halftime. Now the final kick comes and they have a chance to win. If you're a parent, do you wake him up and risk them missing the kick and he's already upset? Or do you wake him up on the chance they make the kick and win the game? I turned to my wife. I said, this is maybe the biggest decision I've ever made as a parent. We woke him up. He got to enjoy the win. So, how about them, Jags?
Yeah, crazy. Obviously, again, they're going to be the underdog here as they were last week, going against the juggernaut Kansas City Chiefs led by Mahomes and Kelsey. 8.5. It is in Kansas City. I'm a Doug Peterson guy. I think he's a great coach that doesn't get enough credit. They got the hire right. They swung and missed with Urban Meyer. They got back in the box and they hit a home run with Doug Peterson. Is it enough to pull off another upset? Let's put it this way. Kansas City is a much better team than the LA Chargers. And obviously that goes without saying. Man, this is tough. The Jaguars are hard to pick against. You're kind of rooting for them. When you're a Steelers,
and they got nothing,
another team.
Well, they got nothing to lose. Nobody cares.
Yeah, they're playing in house money.
They're out of the playoffs. My Ravens, your Steelers are out of the playoffs.
Well, we didn't even get into playoffs. So I always have to adopt when that happens, which seems to be more often more not than getting in lately. I then have to kind of pick a team I sort of adopt for the postseason. The Jaguars, maybe the Bills a little bit, being here in New York, but the Jaguars have kind of become that team for me. But can this magic keep going? I don't think so. So then the next question for me, when you look at the point spread, I don't think they're going to win this game, but will they be within 8.5 points? And Kansas City's good, but I tell you what, they haven't been blowing the doors off people lately. So I'm going to do something crazy here. Right, like I said, this is why you play that opening pick sure to go wrong. I'm living up to the soundbite. I'm taking Jacksonville, not to win. I'd be shocked if they won this game. I think they lose. I think they lose by a touchdown, and or I can even see a scenario where they're down 2 touchdowns and they get sort of a prevent defense touchdown late, and they lose by 7 points. So I'm gonna take the 8.5 points and root for Jacksonville in this game. What say you?
I say that I don't like this line at all. It's a big number, and I don't like big numbers, and I don't like teams that have nothing to lose. Jacksonville's got nothing to lose. And so sometimes, like you said, when your hair's on fire and you got, nothing to lose, and you got all the momentum in the world behind you, weird things happen. The better in me, to be completely honest, says I'm going to tease the point spread. I'm going to lower that a little bit before I play it and probably parlay it with something else. If I have to pick this on the 8.5, I'm with you. I probably have to take the points at 8.5. I probably wouldn't play it straight at 8.5. Like I said, I'd probably tease that back down to 6.5, get under that touchdown and play it that way. But on to New York, another big spread. New York getting 7.5 points at Philly. What do you think of that one, John?
Oh man, I was hoping you'd go first.
All right, well, I'll tell you what I think, honestly. I think Jalen Hurts, they're going to have to protect him a little. So I don't think they want him running all over the field. I think the Giants' offense with Saquon Barkley wants to control the clock. They want the ball out of Hurts' hands. So if Saquon Barkley can run the ball, I think you got a close game, and I would take the Giants in the points. If the Philadelphia defensive line can hold up, then the Giants could be in trouble, and Philadelphia could run all over them. So Philadelphia is dealing with a lot of injuries across the board there, and some of their offensive line. Assuming everybody's healthy, I'm probably going to take the goals with that one.
All right. Well, I'm gonna. I hate to say it. Well, I'm going to kind of agree, but I want to explain why. The Giants are playing well. I'm not a Daniel Jones fan, but he's kind of cleaned up his act. I don't think he's great. He's just kind of not turning the ball over as he's accustomed to doing. That's what he's improved at. I just don't know how long the Giants, I kind of look at this, when I look at this game, Dan, I kind of look at it similar to the Jacksonville KC game. You got one heavy favorite, but you got an upstart team that's really caught some lightning in the bottle. I see the Giants and the Jaguars very similar. But I will tell you this, I like Trevor Lawrence better than I like Daniel Jones. So I'm going to take, I think Daniel Jones is just due for a gaffe, a pick, a sack, fumble. Philly's defense is legit, better than the Giants defense. This game might be close early. I just see the Eagles at home sort of like, putting it into the next gear and getting to the next round. So I'm going to take the Eagles and the points in this one.
Shout out to Brian, is it Dayball, has done a great job with the Giants this year. I think really turned them around. So Cincinnati, the Ravens and the Steelers, mutual rival here. So you and I are both rooting against the Bengals in our hearts, but they're getting 5.5 points. Well, they say at Buffalo, but I think we're really at Atlanta. Isn't that what they're doing?
I'm not sure if they're doing that, because this is not the AFC Championship game. I think
if it goes there against Kansas City. Okay. So Cincinnati plus 5.5 at Buffalo, which doesn't change my answer. But I'll let you go first on this one.
Man, well, listen, we all know the significance of this matchup. This is where DeMar Hamlin fell with cardiac arrest on the field, and that game was postponed. When it was postponed, Cincinnati was up 7-3 in driving, but the score doesn't start 7-3. It starts 0-0. These two teams, I think now with, DeMar being on the good road to recovery, these teams can focus now on playing this game and thinking about this game where they weren't thinking about football for about a week. So it's sort of like it was meant to be. It almost has a serendipity feel here, Danny. And, the fans of both these teams and fans of the NFL are going to get a game I think they were hoping to see. This is a tough one. Being here in Syracuse, we have a lot of Bills fans. The Bills right now are not playing great. I watch a lot of Bills games. Josh Allen, a little kind of, gunslinger, throwing the ball ball into double, triple coverage. They were up big in that Miami game, and Miami rallied back with Skylar Thompson as a coach. No Tua, Skylar Thompson. Buffalo is not playing great football.
It doesn't matter if your name's that cool, then you're a good quarterback, John.
Yeah. But so I'm probably going to get tomatoes thrown at my house with this pick.
Ooh, are you really about to say this?
I'm gonna. I know that I thought Damar Hamlin being healthy, out of the hospital back in Buffalo. I thought they were going to come out and blow the doors off Miami like 35-7, and it started that way. I just wonder if they can't maintain that. And Bengals are a real legit team. I'm a Joe Burrow guy. As much as that hurts to say as a Steeler guy, Joe Burrow is a legit elite quarterback who's playing right now better than Josh Allen. And so based on that, again, anything can happen any given Sunday, right? It's not a saying for no reason. But you got to pick somebody here. I'm going to go with what my gut tells me. I think the Bengals continue this good play. I think the Bengals, in the moment, right? They're up 7-3. They're driving when that play happens that postpones the game. I think the Bengals felt like they were going to win that game, and they didn't get to see it through. Obviously, they were worried about Hamlin's health before any kind of football score. I get that. But I think internally, right, we all have that little voice in the head. I thought they felt they were controlling that game, and now here's their opportunity sort of to kind of prove that. I'm taking, again, the locals here are gonna throw darts at me, a picture of me on the dart. I'm taking the Bengals here. I just think
I thought we were going to agree 3 for 3 here. But you couldn't be more wrong this one.
All right, let's hear it.
Yeah, Buffalo's a deeper team. Cincinnati came within 1 foot of losing to a backup quarterback last week. I don't think they have the chops to win in Buffalo. I don't think the last time they played was in Cincinnati in the Damar Hamlin game. This is in Buffalo. I think Buffalo, with that Bills Mafia, with the home field advantage, with the weather. And I got news for you. Brett Favre won Super Bowls. Josh Allen, to me, is at least as talented as Favre, and probably better with his legs. So I think Josh Allen is more than capable of leading a team to a Super Bowl. And I agree with you on Joe Burrow, but he's not going to be the reason they lose. They're going to lose, but it won't be his fault. The offensive line is a mess. They've got 3 replacement starters, I think, going into this week. I just don't know that he's going to get the pocket he needs to do what he needs to do. And I don't think Joe Mixon is going to beat the Bills alone. So I'm going to take Buffalo. I'm happy to give the points, and Bills Mafia, definitely.
Yeah, one of us is right and one of us is wrong, obviously. Great point by you, by the way, with the 3 linemen that are down on injury. That's going to be a huge factor. So I'm not going off my pick. I'm going to stay with the Bengals. But I'll say this: if they can fill those holes and hold up front, they win. If what you say, they get exposed up front, that's where I think like many football games, right? It's going to be won in the trenches. I think this is a good example of that, especially this.
And so is this last game. So you've got the Dallas Cowboys going to the San Francisco 49ers. And the Brock Purdy San Francisco 49ers. So Dallas is actually the underdog here. Dallas is getting 4 points in San Francisco. And this is a little interesting because you've got, these guys that we've looked at as Pro Bowl players in Dak and Zeke and CeeDee Lamb, and they're going to be underdogs to Mr. Irrelevant. What do you think of this game?
Man, you know what? When I look at this, might be one of the toughest games. We're talking about how tough these other games are to pick. This one might be the toughest one on the board of the 4. For those that don't know, Brock Purdy was the last pick of the NFL draft, and he's leading a team as a favorite into the division round against a pretty good team in the Dallas Cowboys.
And by all accounts, people love him and say he's the real deal, which is unbelievable.
Yeah. Where there's going to be no Jimmy G because of Brock Purdy. They're going to move on from him. If I would have told, let's take out all the backstory, and this is for everyone out there listening too. If I would have told you Dak Prescott versus Brock Purdy in a playoff game, right off the bat, you would have been like, oh my God, it's going to be a rout by Dallas. Like, I'm not even saying the rest of San Francisco isn't a decent team, but Dak's going to take him to school and Dallas is going to win. And I probably would have agreed with you, but we're not at that point no more. He's not just a 1 or 2 game wonder at this point. He is playing pretty good football to the point where San Francisco's got quarterback decisions to make. They got another guy you might have heard of called Trey Lance that's only out because of injury. So it'll be interesting to see, and we're getting into the offseason here, how that even shakes out. I've heard even rumors that Tom Brady might be down in his hometown 49ers uniform.
For the record,
Aaron Rodgers.
I've heard a rumor of Tom Brady's going to 30 teams. So
Aaron Rodgers is from San Francisco. Yeah. So that's his hometown thing. Well, let's get back to the game. Man, this is tough, but I got to make a pick here. And much like the Cincinnati-Buffalo game where I didn't really have a super strong inclination, go with my gut. And my gut just says, man, I'm San Francisco at home. I think playing at home in this game is going to make a big difference. I'm not even sure Brock Purdy's going to light up the scoreboard, but that San Francisco defense is legit. I think they're going to get to Prescott and Dallas, and Dallas has got their own guy with Micah Parsons, who's a disruptor and arguably the best defensive player in the game right now. So this is a game, really, I wouldn't be surprised whatever way it goes. It could go either way. We can't pick 2 teams. I got to pick one. I'm going to take the Niners at home. I think I'm just going to go with the home team and make that be the deciding factor.
Well, we're going to disagree again because you really made the argument for me. I think Micah Parsons is like nothing that Brock Purdy's gone up against, and they've now had a couple weeks to scout him, where the first week or two there wasn't as much tape on, and I think that gave him a little bit of an advantage. So especially with what Dallas did in their last game, I just think they're kind of clicking on all cylinders right now. Listen, CMC, Debo, George Kittle, great offense in San Francisco, great defense. Not a knock to them at all. This should be a fantastic game. Looking forward to watching it. But if you're telling me I can take Dallas and get 4 points on top of it, I'll take the points and I'll take Dallas on that.
Well, we like you said, we picked 2 games the same and we picked 2 games different. So it's going to be fun to see who was right, who was wrong. One thing I learned after doing this exercise tonight is I like to bet on DraftKings a little bit, nothing crazy, but I don't even think I'm going to bet. I'm so on the fence on all these games. I think I'm just going to keep my wallet in my pocket and just enjoy some nachos and just watch the football games without any sort of money on the line. One of those rare weeks I might do that. And so it's going to be fun. I mean, you got 4 games that, 2 of them could definitely go to me either way. And then you got the 2 other games where you got teams really kind of playing well at the right time against favorited teams. But who knows, right? It's the NFL. You know.
Any given Sunday.
Yeah, no doubt.
Yeah. Well, for those of you who don't know, John's lying. He's absolutely going to bet on DraftKings this weekend. So you don't have to worry about that, DraftKings. John is okay. You don't need to send a search party. He will be checking in weekly as usual. I think we have gone over our time. This was a blast tonight.
Yeah, well, we're having fun, right? Time flies when you're having fun. And again, just in closing, we're every other week here on Card Mensch on Monday on Sports Card Nation platform, but follow at Card Mensches. We're also on all those platforms as we build those up. We got to start from the ground and build it up. So you can see it on Danny's channels and at Sports Ball. And so wherever you catch the show, give Card Mensches a follow on Twitter and Instagram so we can build those social medias up and do more stuff. And like I said, every other week we come at you. This has been fun. Just again, a reminder, hey, put in the comments what cards would you buy if you won the lottery. It'd be interesting to see some of those picks.
Absolutely. And if you do win the lottery, feel free to send the cards that John and I asked for earlier. Just go ahead and send them to us.
Yeah, but remember, that's a charitable donation. You can write that off.
Well, the way our picks have been going this season, it is a charitable donation. John, always a pleasure, my friend. Thank you very much. And I got to give you credit. This song here, I'm not going to give away who it is. If anybody knows the song on the outro, put it in the comments, and I'll send you a free card or a free pack or something. But until 2 weeks.
Be careful with that. People have Shazam. They can cheat.
Okay, no cheat. Well, now you just ruined it. John just ruined it for everybody. No cards for anybody. All right.
I'm the card Nazi. No cards for you.
Have a good one. We'll see you guys in a couple weeks.